Special edition Free Music Empire. I am Mr. White Folks, aka Danny Orange. I am the proprietor of Free Music Empire. Lucky enough to have done so for almost 10 years now. Lucky to have a guest with me on the come up. Exquisite steak aroma. Scorcese, Lorde Jones.
Yes, sir.
What a year. What a year for you and your friends. That's what I will say.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. Hold on. Before we get into this real quick, because you got to do all your AKAs. It's your boy, man. It's Scorcese, Lorde Jones, a.k.a. Scorcese, a.k.a. Mr. Stacking Chips on Record, crushing every single enemy. 1/2 of the Dream Team, 1/3 of the Nation Gang, 1/4 of the Zip Squad, man. We're having a good time. We in the building, man, with Free Music Empire. And yeah, let's talk. Let's talk about the year.
Let's chop it up.
Man,
I'm
crazy,
excited about this conversation because I'm really excited about where music is in 2020.
Agreed.
And I'm really I've from following you, from listening to you on Call Out Culture, I know that you share this kind of excitement. Great artists. There are great artists who are great at their art, but there are also great artists who are great at taking in other people's art.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
absolutely.
about? Like people who are
I do, actually.
they will listen to a country song and be like, that's the one, right?
Yeah.
Like they know stuff that's outside of their realm because they can analyze this. And
Agreed.
And you're one of those people, man. So I'm excited for it. And to set the stage, I'm hoping people on Free Music Empire know what you've done this year.
Hey, I do too. I feel like I've had a good year, man. Everything aside.
You are with me every day. Right at the work desk.
Yes, sir.
It's not bad. The merch came, the socks came. I mean, it's been a thorough campaign, right?
Thank you.
Hampton Polo Boys summer catalog. That didn't come out that long ago. Was that August?
That was August. That was literally August. Like, so here's what's crazy, right? Like, I had kind of planned out like my year, like musically. I knew I was gonna do the Polo Boys project was gonna be my summer project. Then I had like my Nation Gang, my group project that was gonna come, and me and Griff actually didn't have a project planned in the middle of that.
Mm-hmm.
I had these records that were originally for the Fedora Boys project. That's me, Jason Griff, and Alex Ludovico as a group.
Oh wow!
And Alex was kind of like, I'm not really yet ready to write, or
Mm-hmm.
He's mercurial in that sense where he's like, when I'm ready, he'll shoot through everything. Then when he's not, you just got to kind of wait him out. And so Jason was like, yo, Shells, how about you just finish these records? Like, first of all, they're dope. Like, you're like killing these songs, but like, let's form an album. And so I knew what I wanted to do. I was like, okay, bet. I want to get some guests on this, and I don't want it to be long. It was like the two big things we talked about. And so I flew out to LA in February to work on East Hampton Polo Boys with Panels. That was the producer of the project. And I spent like almost 2 weeks out there, you know what I'm saying, working on the project, sitting down, talking with Alex. We kind of were chopping it up about what we want to do musically. And most importantly, just kind of like, I knew I wanted to record outside of my normal zone, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And Jason sent another pack of beats. He just, like, I had sent him some samples that I really liked. I was like, yo, can you kind of work these out? Let me know what you're going to do. He sent them back, and I was like, oh, man, some of these are so good. And me and Alex started writing and really kind of driving into them. And I knew I was going to take some of them. I'll be real with you. I was like, this one and this one I'm keeping for my project. And that's kind of what happened. I kept 2 records. One of them's actually Death on Smoky Mountain, came from that beat pack. And then the pandemic hit.
Mm-hmm.
And that screwed everything up. Because, again, my plan was Polo Boys was going to drop in June. And that didn't get dropped until August. because now we're working versus like we could get on like a FaceTime and Panels is in the studio with the producer and I'm just kind of talking through like my ideas. We're trying to figure out who can talk when, and it was just it took a while. And so I just finished Midnight Express. Like I was at that point, I'm just sitting in the house and I'm like, well, let me finish this. I knew some people I wanted on it, and we just really started kind of working on it, and it just blossomed into something really fabulous, man. I knew it when I heard it, and I kept like, I would call Jason. It was like, yo, is this as good as I think it is?
It's so weird for me because like we've been talking for a while about like, you know, when I was going to look at your records and when I was going to do it. Mm-hmm. And I was always like, it's not the time yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you've heard artists, as long as I have, like mature from like, that's a good mixtape, but let's see what happens next year. You know what I mean?
Right.
And by the time that happened, by the time you dropped Midnight Express, and it brought me back to Summer Catalog, it came together, and I was like, now's the time. You know?
Yeah. I tell Jason, like, Dream Team, our first project we did together, me and Jason Griff, I was like, that's not our first real project, because Dream Team was already an idea that I had when we sat down with it, you know? Mm-hmm. And so it was really more my ideas and him kind of giving me beats that I liked that fit the tempo of the project. Catch Point was really when people started, like, catching up to us. You know, that was like the follow-up project was the remix project. And, you know, we had like Quell Chris on there. Oh, right. We had, of course, Zilla was on there. And I think, I'll be real with you, that Zilla verse and my response to that verse, the Classy Freddie Blassie remix, that was my level up moment. That was when mentally, I think a lot of the cuffs came off and my ability to sit down and say, you know what, I can write with the best. And I can say what I want. People will get it. Yep. I don't have to be afraid of not, you know what I'm saying? Maybe they're like weirded out about like the rap stuff or the wrestling stuff. But no, F that, dude. You're fucking dope. Say the illest shit you want to say. And that's really what kind of like kickstarted this whole like Midnight Express and Polo Boys and everything else, man. It was really cool to see. So
I'm glad you made that point. It was Keith, my co-host on the regular weekly discussion show we do.
Out to Keith.
He was like, you got to pull this quote and post it on Instagram that you had, because I had this rant about how art is embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the people doing it. It's embarrassing for the audience taking it in. Mm-hmm. It's an embarrassing experience. And the most powerful artists are the one who don't have that.
Yeah.
Who can shed it or don't have it naturally. Mm-hmm. And so we were talking about the XXL freshman was the reason, because every year they'll look at those pictures and be like, who are these goofballs? But like,
True.
Those are the people who aren't embarrassed to show their art. Those people aren't.
I could say it like this, right? Like, I have always, and I think it was something that like I leaned into naturally was, you know, my love for pro wrestling, my love for street rap, my love for, you know, like boom bap beats. And I was just like, I just started that was just kind of how it filtered in, you know, like, as you know, right. Philly rapper at heart. And so a lot of my stuff was heavy gun bars and like my early stuff. Like, you ever heard of my early stuff? It's real. I mean, that's really all it is. It's punchlines, heavy gun. And I realized it's not really me. It's not what I want to rap about.
Right.
You know, and I was like, this is fine. Like, I can do this for a while, but it's not really going to get people to like what I do. And eventually they're just going to dry up. And then this thing that I love to do, you know, writing, making music, is just going to be gone. I'm going to lose my ability to do it because it's not going to be fun. And I think that's, we talking about like the art, right? And
yep.
I sat and I did like 2-man power trip. And that was my first time where I just leaned into my love of wrestling. You know what I mean? It's still one of my favorite projects. And one of my biggest supporters, my biggest investors, I call my fans, you know, investors, like people who just, because they do. Dude, you've seen it. Like I drop socks and people love these socks, man. I was able to sell shorts for my project. You know, people love these shorts, and that's what I mean. Like, they're investing in my ability to keep doing this. And he told me when I dropped. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It makes sense. Like, if there's so many dumb things we invest in every day, right?
But think about it though. Most people don't invest in this stuff.
Crazy.
They'll buy it, and that's what I mean, right? Like, I mean, I can tell you, if I walked up to my attic right now, like I have like 2 or 3 boxes of T-shirts that have like the logo for the whatever album it was, and you know, I bought 50 of them from Gildan because everybody told me, "Wow, we love that art," and I was like, "Okay, cool. Will you buy a shirt?" Yeah, I'll buy a shirt. I go and I buy these shirts. 10 people, 15, 20 people buy these shirts. And now I'm just looking at this box of shirts like, holy shit, I just got, you know, a bunch of shirts. I said, F that, man. When I did the Polo Boys, I was like, I'm going to do 15 of everything and make it just hella exclusive. And if you like it, you'll buy it. And if you don't, you're not going to like it. And that's cool. And the people fell in love with this because they were able to understand like, oh man, he's got his own like polo line to go along with this rich, opulent music.
Right.
And even with like the Dream Team, right? Like we did like clay figures. These fire like clay figures. I wish I had one. They're over in the other side of the room. I could show you, but like, and then they came in like this ill like box, and we did this whole package. And that was me and Gris' first time saying, you know what, if we're gonna do a package, we have to present it. Because we knew, like, we're new for a lot of listeners, we're new. We are in a space where we're not making the usual, the no drums, loop patterns, and you're kind of off beat, but you're sort of on beat. And you know what I mean? And I was like, I don't want to do that music. I want to do drums. I want to do boom bap. I want to do the shit that I love to listen to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to be proud of this shit. I want to, you know, 10, 15 years down the line, play my own shit. Like you said, it's art, right?
Yeah.
And it meant being unafraid of like leaning into the shit that I loved. And so that's really like the impetus for all of this now, man.
It is. And it's the impetus for like 2020 musically. Like, it is, I just was talking about like Elucid is the Ethan Hawke of rap music.
Yes.
Because he's so sincere. He's meditating so sincerely in public. And every Armand Hammer album is like training day, because Billy Woods is just all over the map and insane and a scene stealer, and you know he's Ethan Hawke getting back to his place.
That's a good analogy.
But they're so serious about it, and every verse is art. Like that's another level, and you know, like from stuff you love and stuff you've done, that like. It's one thing to be a rapper where I'm looking forward to your album. It's another rapper to where like I'm looking forward to your verse.
Nice.
Like I'm listening to the words because I need to hear what you're saying. It's a different level. So it leads me to my first question. So Midnight Express. Some albums have like a beating heart to them, where that one song kicks off the whole experience. What was that song where you were like, all right, this is a project. This is itself.
Right. Truthfully, it was Ode to Camp Low. Ode to Camp Low was, so we originally, when we were talking about the record, again, I told you it was a Fedora Boys project, was originally what I was thinking about doing before I went to another solo. And we got 3 beats from Jason. One is Boring Gun Raps. It's like the opening record. Ode to Camp Low, which was called Muggsy Drogs, and this other beat called You Can't Get No Shots Out. And the idea behind Boring Gun Raps was, you know, exactly that. Like, yo, what if we just rapped over like shittily done, half done loops, you know, and really kind of like rail on what we're hearing in the industry. You know what I'm saying? Like the underground industry.
Right.
And we got kind of excited about it. And then I kind of was like, that shit sounds kind of haterish. And while I don't mind being a hater, I think we should kind of like tone it down. And so Muggsy Drogs, when I heard it, I was like, yo, this shit sounds like Camp Low. And I was really trying to get Geechee Suede on it. Ironically enough, I tried hard to get Geechee Suede on the record, and I couldn't. And so I ended up asking Alaska. I sent Alaska that and Detlef were the 2 records I sent. And he was like, yo, I like Detlef, but I love this Camp Low record. Let's do it. And, you know, he did his verse, and he said, what are you going to do at the end? And I was like, man, I might get another artist, something like that. He was like, yo, let's go back and forth. I was like, what? You know? like my head exploded. Like, whoa, I get to go back and forth with Alaska? How dope is this? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, what a story that dude is. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I got a chance to do like an email interview with him in support of Cargo Cults, which hit today. And
it's a crazy record.
I just finished it. I was doing he was my recommendation for this week, and I described him, and I said, there's always a sitcom plot where the friend group doesn't want to tell one friend something. And they're like, don't tell Janine. Don't. What and then one friend comes from the other room, eating a bowl of cereal, looks Janine in the face, tells her the secret. And like Alaska's that dude.
Man,
he doesn't care.
I'll tell you this.
He's 100,000%.
He is Alaska this year, and I said this right before I dropped Camp Low, because I had been teasing Camp Low for months, because obviously I've had the record for a minute, and I kept telling everybody because I saw Alaska was popping up on other people's projects, and I was like, hey, I love you guys. I think you have all of your, Alaska's giving you guys dope verses. I'm telling you guys right now, I have the best Alaska Adams verse of the year.
Straight up. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to be mean to anybody. I'm not saying that to say like, yo, he gave you, I have the best one of the year. People were like, what? I was like, trust me on this. When you hear Ode to Camp Low, guarantee you're going to say the same thing. And every single person that, like, when it dropped and they heard it, they were like, holy shit. I was like, yeah, that's what I mean. You know what I mean? He is like crushing this. And you take him out of the equation. The only other person I could possibly like, and I said this, like Curly Castro on Survivor Series 92.
Right.
And I said it, I was like, Curly Castro easily is the underground, quote unquote, artist of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we can get to the General Wrecking Crew accomplishments are pretty fantastic.
Yes.
But yeah, Ode to Camp Low feels like the beating heart of Midnight Express. And it's partially, there was like Lucchini is the beating heart of Uptown Saturday Night, right? Like it's one of those, I recommended Keith listen to that album. He had never heard it before, and he came back and he's like, I've been playing nonstop. Like, Ode to Camp Low feels that central to the album. So I'm glad to know it was. It's exciting.
Yes. That was definitely the one. And, mine is actually based on a Black Connection. It sounds like Ode to Camp Low sounds a bit like Lucchini, but if we're being real, it's because it's actually based. So Black Connection is like my favorite song on there, the story song. Yeah. And even though there's a story of, like, if you listen to Black Connection, there's technically a story happening. I've never had anybody explain to me what exactly the story was. But that's what makes the song really cool. And that's actually, like, literally the Ode to Camp Low is my last line on there, where I was like, yo, felt the tap on my shoulder. I call Alaska up right now. Like, if you listen to Geechee, he says the same thing. Felt the tap on my shoulder. I call Suede up right now.
Oh, man.
You know what I'm saying? So
and that was the thing about Midnight Express that is so different from the East Hampton Polo Boys is it's kinetic energy. It's moving. It's a party album. You can put it on and work out to it. You can put it on and you know what I'm saying? Like that's different. Summer Catalog, I understood it better after Midnight Express.
Yeah,
that's like a swagged out. That is like white satin. That is
yes.
What that is.
Right. And that's why, like, the way I was kind of thinking about, like, staggering them, right? Like, East Hampton Polo Boys was all about, like, and when me and Panels discussed it, I asked Panels, what do you want from this project? And Panels was like, yo, I want the swaggiest shit ever. So, like, I did Doc Colossus was the first record I did for it. And originally Doc Colossus was just a Lucy. I was just going to release it as a song. That's actually why it's technically a bonus. Right. That's why I labeled it a bonus, because technically it's not a part of Summer Catalog, but it was the reason why Summer Catalog exists. And I was like, I want he told me, he's like, yo, Shells, I want you to just say the wildest, richest shit ever, man. And I was like, oh, well, shit, that's easy. Let's talk. Right. And like, Shells can do that. Like, that's nothing. You know what I mean? So I got busy and we started kind of like formulating it and putting it together. But when I started writing Midnight Express, the goal was different.
Right.
The goal was to create something that forces you to listen to everything. Mm-hmm. Every single word, every single phrase, every single line. And more importantly, I didn't want you to skip anything. I felt like if you put on Midnight Express, you should want to listen to it from Boring Gun Raps all the way to Rocket Launcher. Your favorite song may be Rocket Launcher, but you can't understand Rocket Launcher without hearing Detlef. You can't understand Detlef without hearing Death on Smoky Mountain, and so on and so forth. So that to me was like my biggest key. And I was like, I need people to really understand like those 22 minutes. You got to like sink into those 22 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Detlef, and it all different tones that add up to the full experience. Yeah. Very cool. My next question really is on the craft, and it's something that was interesting. I've been listening to a lot of Cormega recently.
Right.
And I was listening to one of my favorite guest verses, certainly that he did, but maybe all time, is What's Your Poison?
Whew, yes, sir.
Murder Music.
And Murder Music is my favorite Mobb Deep album, so yeah, you're already in my wheelhouse.
I talked to friends about this. I like reading this stuff sometimes, pulling out a Genius and just reading the song. Mm-hmm. And wow. I mean, he says, I exhale preciseness, drug dealer ghetto shit.
Hell yeah.
It got me thinking about all the punchlines and phrases in rap that we hear over and over again. Mm-hmm. But I've never heard anyone say, I exhale preciseness. Like, that word choice is his.
Yep.
Do you have a verse on Midnight Express that you think reached that place in your writing where you're like, no one does this? I have a pick if you don't have a pick.
Whew. So, man, I have a couple actually. The verse on actually Ode to Camp Low is one. That was because there's so many like little hidden pieces in that verse that so my background is writing, man.
Right.
I've never said that I've had like that I have the best flow or that I find all the best pockets or anything, but I will tell you that like bar for bar, line for line, there are very few people that are fucking with me. And I'm not saying that fuck being humble, man. Like I write like certain shit I write and I know people don't get it because they'll talk to me about it and I'll be like, yo, what if I told you this is what I really meant? They're like like their heads explode, you know what I mean? So Ode is one, but the one I do love, Death on Smoky Mountain. Death on Smoky Mountain.
That was my thing. Guard your epidermis. I mean, right?
Yeah. Listen, like, go back to those first couple of bars, because I'm talking about like Philly sports. You know what I'm saying? I'm Carter Hart. I'm more flyer with the stick talk. My wrist frost. Colder than December in the Arctic. Mr. Sark, way I'm sunning you. Ironic. You stuck in 20. Swear you 1 and 2. So, like that, right? Yep. Like, obviously, I'm talking about like Dario Saric. Dario Saric was in Philly, he wore 20. But with the Suns he wears 20, but in Philly he wore 12.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just this ill, you know what I'm saying? But swear you 1 and 2. Peep the flavor. I'm on the grind for a foreign plus a couple Lakers. Faith, that's a mustard seed, a spit disease, the human weapon, living wet. Like, I mean, just
right.
Fam, like I love, and I remember writing that. So Death to Smoky Mountain was the beat was one of the ones I talked about from that pack. Mm-hmm. And originally it was a song that I wrote for wrestler AJ Gray. He's doing a show called For the Culture. And I wrote the song for him. And I sent it to Jason. And Jason was like, yo, I love the verses, but it doesn't match this beat. Like, you need something heavier. And I was like, well, I'm not giving you this beat back. Because I felt like if this beat went back into like our shared folder, I would never get it again. Right. And he was like, well, write something dope and you can keep it. And I was kind of zoning out, and the New Jack episode of Vice came on. Mm-hmm. And I started watching it, and that made me like go down a rabbit hole of Smoky Mountain videos on YouTube. And I ran into the sample that we use where Jim Cornette's talking about Jimmy Boogie Woogie Man Valiant.
Yeah.
And the line where he says, I'm going to make him read Roots backwards so he has a happy ending, which is, that's it, fam. Like, that's insanity. You know what I'm saying? That line is crazy to me. But I was like, well, what if, the end of Smoky Mountain is like the overt and covert racism, you know, and that's really what I started kind of writing about. And I was like, you know, let me throw in. I want to start with let me start with the boring gun rap. You know, I'm Carter Hart. I'm more flyer with the stick talk. You know, that's boring gun raps. You know, but let's sink into this, and now let me start talking about like my feelings about faith and religion and how these things connect. And
man, the end of that.
So,
I mean, that song really builds. I mean, that's and that was definitely my pick. I mean, P.S. on the Dario Saric, right? There was a point during that kind of come up, that run, where we all decided that we were certain members of the Sixers, personality-wise,
right,
within the house. My wife was Ben Simmons because she's like the ice-faced, you know, tough as nails, like person in charge, you know.
Right.
I'll be on the injured list, but she won't be. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Look, I've stopped mentioning a lot of like Philly sports people in my music. So I feel like I jinx them every time I do it.
Oh, that's fair.
I can go to all types of records and be like, yo, I can't believe I said that. I shouldn't have said that because something bad happened to him. And I think, like I mentioned Kiko Alonso. He blew his knee out. I mentioned Namdi one time, and he was trash. And I mentioned Jalil Okafor. He fell apart. I was like, man, I got to stop doing this. So hopefully I didn't jinx you, Carter.
That's fair. But I was the Embiid of the house, and my son was Dario.
Nice.
My son was definitely Dario because he was the X factor. You never knew when he was gonna light it up or just, you know.
Right. The homie.
And with Dario, you could see it in his face that he was like, "Fuck, this isn't my night," you know. And that was definitely that's my kid. So, yes. So, is there anybody that you view as like a word choice hero within the genre? I feel like it used to be a bigger thing. Cool Mo D and all the crazy like words that used to be used back then.
Yeah. So I can tell you this. If I choose the people that I think about, my triumvirate of rappers, and you can from Polo Boys to this, I think you can kind of tell. Sean P, of course.
Yep.
That's STFU.
Yep.
Prodigy is another one, you know, stab you in your face, rock you with your nose bone, you know, that's crazy line, you know. Nori.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Nori is probably one of my biggest influences, you know. Jose Luis Gotcha, Golden Guns, Frank Sinatra, you know, just ill, like, non sequiturs that people will go like, yo, what is he rapping about? You know, like he says, you know, my Cocker Spaniel, you know, Neptune's got a Cocker Spaniel. Like, Nori knew what the hell he was talking about, and that's what made it really ill and fresh. Raekwon.
And Nori always said, like, remember Nori always said, like, I wanted to be Biz Markie if he had guns?
Yeah.
That wasn't, like, it's so awesome that he was like, that's my vision, right? Like,
yeah. Like, that type of energy is what you need, though. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of person that you want. And when I was really starting to, like, write and kind of get into my own, you know, like Big Daddy Kane was my first big influence. He was the first person that made me want to rap. But like, as I started like writing, I was like, man, I can't rap like Big Daddy Kane. Like, he's incredible. And so I started gravitating to Queens rappers, because Queens rappers to me always had like the most awkward, illest flows, but they worked. They worked on every record. You know, Nas raps like a jazz musician. You know, like his voice just, it flutters and it flitters, and but it's always like really precise and strong.
Right.
Then you got somebody like Prodigy, Prodigy eventually is like, I don't have to rhyme.
Right.
Which I thought it was the illest shit ever. Like when I realized like, yo, wait, if I don't want this shit to rhyme, fuck it. Like, let me just keep going. That's what made it really powerful. And that's really what made me as a writer start experimenting with my own craft and trying something different and doing something different over and over and over again, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I remember thinking about the Sean Price, like I was listening to East Hampton Polo Boys, hearing the Sean Price shout outs, and I was like, oh wow, like that really fits with this word choice question, because I mean, Monkey Bars really changed me. And like, there's just the like, what is it? Like I love selling Nicks at night.
Yeah.
Go home, roll a spliff, watch Nick at night.
Nick at night.
Oh my God. I
See,
mean,
but think about it. Like some dudes like Sheik Luch, right?
yes. Okay.
Sheik is my favorite from the Locks for that reason, because Sheik was like, he said, Locks the dream team. You get dunked on like China. Reminder, player, we the real McCoys. You know what I'm saying? Plus, we keep our bones up in your main chick when you don't be home. Like all those cool, like mnemonic, rhythmic rappers. That's the shit that I fell in love with. I know a lot of people, and obviously Kiss, Styles, I love them, but like those type of like little pieces of energy. And so even like Shut the Fuck Up, right?
Right.
I wrote that literally as a 2P. Mount Kilimanjaro, 4 firearms that hit, calling me Goro. Ooh, get back, smack, forceful. The cash grab, Baghdad, the black man Zorro. Uppercut your chin, body blow. So on and so forth. And it was all about like, as I became more confident in my ability to do it, and my ability to say like, yo, if I put this out, and it goes back to that question about art, right? If I drop this song, will people say, yo, he's showing love to Sean P? Or are people going to say, why is he trying to rap like Sean P? Which is not what I wanted. I wanted people to get, and that's all the feedback I got was like, yo, like Sean, like some of my boys in Brooklyn who heard it was like, yo, Sean would have loved this shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I used to, and some of my favorite moments of just being on Twitter was just talking to Sean about SB Dunks, man. Like he was a sneakerhead, he's a polo head. He would have loved Summer Catalog.
And we did a Sean Price dedication episode just so I could kind of expose Keith to that stuff. And I was like, I saw him live and the crowd misunderstood him. So I'm in Maine, right? And it was tiny kids in huge clothes with screw faces. And they were very serious and very like hardcore about it. And I was like, dude, this guy's funny as hell. Like, you need to relax. You need to catch these jokes, man. This guy's funny. Like, yes, he can beat up anybody in here, but he's hilarious. And
listen,
you're not catching all the angles here.
Yep. That was so like, for example, like STFU, that was based on like Figure 4. You know what I mean? Like where he started his rhyme, he started with Botswana, small time little league nigga, Pop Warner. You know what I'm saying? And so of course, if he's okay, Botswana, what's the mountain? Mount Kilimanjaro, 4 5. So that's what I mean, because he's just saying funny, cool shit. And that was, I think at the end of the day, like all the rappers that I mentioned really, from like Prodigy to Sheik to Nori, etc., those were all dudes that it sounded like they're having fun when they rap.
Yep.
It's cool. You can be serious. You can be Rakim and be serious as hell, and that's all well and good. It's all fun. A lot of my current peers, when they walk in the booth, they're just really, I gotta be super serious rap. And that shit is cool. There's time for that. But to me, at the end of the day, man, like you're not having fun with this shit. Bro, the fact that you literally own a sticker with my face on it and a fur coat with the jewels and my crown on. That shit to me is like, it's the illest shit ever to me. The fact that I got fucking socks with my face on it because people said, yo, if you drop this, it's dope. You know, when people were like quoting my lines and telling me, yo, you said something really profound or something that just made me laugh. Or they'll say, yo, I use this line when I walk around the house and I just say it out loud. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That shit
Sean
to me,
P opened up that
day,
lane.
bro.
Sean P opened up that lane for people to be able to like enjoy the hardcore rap but laugh at it at the same time.
Yeah.
And have the full human experience in it. Now, in terms of Prodigy, I've been thinking about this a lot because there was a time in New York rap, I'm sure you remember it, where everyone was way too Jay-Z focused. It was the Jordan of the situation, and everybody was like, J, and people were doing his cadence. It was terrible.
Yes.
And I started to see a difference listening to Benny the Butcher, listening to Conway. I was like, shit, all these interludes are Prodigy in interviews going nuts. And like, he's the guy that they want to be. And I was like, wow, this is a shift because Prodigy was different. And
Yep.
for people who don't understand it, I guess the best comparison would be Jay was the Beatles and he was the Stones.
Right.
Mobb Deep were the Stones. And I did a story, one of my favorite things that I ever wrote was about the self-destructive finale of Mobb Deep.
Yeah.
And it was basically about them on G Unit making Pearly Gates.
Pearly Gates was amazing. You know the follow up. Did you hear Nightmares?
I did. So
Yeah.
Exile does the beat. Like 50's gonna place this on his soundtrack to his movie. Like this is gonna put Mobb Deep back in the driver's seat for popular artists. And the story, Mace is in the booth, like people are chilling, and I think every Havoc goes first, 50 goes second, and they kind of milk the concept. Pearly Gates, religious but fly imagery. Something about that beat touched Prodigy.
Yep.
In a different way. And he said, now, homie, if I go to hell and you make it to the Pearly Gates, tell the boss man we got beef, and tell his only son I'm going to see him when I see him. And when I see him, I'm going to beat him like a movie.
Like, so, Pete, right?
What?
Right? I think because you had somebody who was spiritually aware and also cognizant of the fact that like religion is in some people's minds, and his in particular, like it's a construct, right? Like I wrote for my project A World Only Gods Know, which is my first like official like solo project. I got a song, it's called Untitled. It features Killer Mike and Pastor Troy actually.
Oh, I love Pastor Troy.
And it's worth a listen. It's on you can find it if you want to check it out. But the song, like I started, demon on my shoulder, promise me the globe, promise me the kingdom. If I sold my soul, all the glitter's never gold, but the sun's shining. They call him Lucifer, God's trusted angel. He saw the jig first. Now we tempting humans. Now he tempting me, raging like a Kuma. Said money's no object, faith is no process. You can have it overnight, plus unite all the masses. You could be a Trump, you could be a Clinton. You could commute the wave God life sentence. Like, the world in my palm, what he whispered in my ear. The Khaleesi on your, he said, yo, what I said. It's like, it's this this idea about, and then I ended, I said, I took a moment to ponder. Then I grabbed the money bag and went straight to the coffers. Like, yeah, I took it. Of course I'm going to take this. Like, you're telling me all this really cool, dope shit. That's way more fun than the shit that I've been told. Totally. And then Killer Mike follows it up. He says he raps about a lot of the same shit, and that's what makes the song really dope. But
awesome.
You got guys that having a chance to really kind of talk about these things and really kind of explain and examine. And I'll tell you like this, like I love Bloody Money. And I've told people this shit. Like a lot of people do not like the record. And I said, go back and listen to it. You're going to tell me Creep is a bad record? You're going to tell me Out of Control is a bad record? You're going to tell me Pearly Gates is a bad record? I was like, and people were like, it doesn't sound like a Mobb Deep record. And I was like, yeah, but nobody was checking for a Mobb Deep record when they dropped, what was the record after Infamy?
Oh, man. Infamy is a real benchmark.
America's Nightmare.
Yes.
Nobody was checking for America's Nightmare. Right. Nobody was going around saying, yo, America's Nightmare is dope. So if they gave you the same music that you wanted and you didn't fuck with it, why are you mad at them for trying something different? And that goes back to the idea of artistry, right?
Yep.
You can say like, yo, it's not good because I don't like it. But if they're just stuck on that treadmill all the time, they're gonna be stuck, and you're gonna be stuck. And I think that goes back to like underground rap. Like, I didn't want Midnight Express to sound like Dream Team. I didn't want Midnight Express to sound like East Hampton Polo Boys. Midnight Express doesn't sound like the Nation Gang EP, and the Nation Gang EP doesn't sound like the Nation Gang LP, which is coming out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm working on Winter Catalog right now. Winter Catalog sounds nothing like that shit.
Perfect.
So the more I work, the more I keep working and thinking about this music and how I want it to sound, the more I realize, like, I can't keep doing the same shit. And my investors, the people who love my shit, they're going to keep fucking with it because they know look, if you could tell me right now, I know you're the interviewers. I got to ask you a question.
Do it.
What is one common thread between Summer Catalog and Midnight Express? If you could pick one thing, and it doesn't have to be like lyrically, it doesn't have to be musically. If you looked at both CDs and you thought about both of them, what is something that you would say that both of those projects have in common?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that there's the confidence in the delivery of Summer Catalog is what gets mutated into different forms in Midnight Express.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
it does.
It's the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie, right? Like, it's like, he's fly, he's into this. You know, you've got was there like Superfly interludes and shit?
Yeah, there's all types of like ill, and that's the point. Like, you know, when you played Summer Catalog, that this is a cohesive project from beginning to end.
Right.
Nothing sounds out of place. Nothing sounds wrong. Nothing sounds like, he added this because he needed to get this in. Like, think about it, right? Summer Catalog, there's no guess. There's not a single guess. It's just me. Midnight Express is all guess. But somehow, both of those projects work cohesively as pieces because Summer Catalog didn't need to have any guess. If I couldn't handle that type of project by myself, it probably wasn't going to work. Midnight Express, listening to those beats, like, if you listen to Ode to Camp Low, could you imagine that without Alaska? Right. You couldn't. But that doesn't mean that Ode to Camp Low is a bad record with just me on it.
Right.
I killed that bitch. You know what I mean? Same thing with like Boring Gun Raps, right? Like when I wrote Boring Gun Raps, that was supposed to be me and Alex. But you can go back and say, man, I'm really glad like Sinatra comes on the second half of that and brings that perspective. Because I'm all on weapons, Jim Lee, brush, hush, shit, but money, what? Keep it equal, because I need bucks. What up? Welcome to the joke. Get air with Smith. You the king, I'm the prince, heir to the shit. You know me, play job, get Tommy. You know what I mean? And I'm going all in on the gun raps. I'm going all in on just having fun and bravado, and it comes on real smooth. Pack your fruit punch. Rappers want to test and now they cruise lunch. And you know, he gets into more like the spiritual, and it makes it work. It makes the idea of like, yo, there's nothing boring about these gun raps. There's nothing boring about this record, and it works. But like, if Sleep's not on that, it probably doesn't work as well. Like, if I got the wrong artist for that record, if I get the wrong artist, like Marvel vs. DC, like Zilla brings that out. Like, I knew the idea when I sent it to him. I was like, yo, the record's called Marvel vs. DC, and like I freestyled like the first 4 bars and I sent it to him. I didn't have anything else written, and I just had that Marvel vs. DC. You know what I'm saying? Wrecking Crew versus Dre, best believe me. And that's actually why, if you listen to like the first 4 bars, it's not really a lot of like superhero shit in it.
Right.
Because it's literally just me freestyling. And then the second half, I got into my superhero, and then Zilla sent me back his verse, and I read it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. Now you're gonna test me? Say no more. Since you're gonna jump into, because he's talking about Owa and Krakow. I was like, oh, okay, now I gotta really go in. And that's what I meant by like the cohesiveness of that project.
Yep.
That even if you've never heard me before, even if you've never listened to me rap, when you put that on, you notice like the sounds are varied. There's some different flavors in here. Every song has its own unique chamber. You know, not to get into my Wu-Tang shit, but every record has its own unique chamber, but it all works.
And because it feels like me and this guest have this kind of relationship, right? This song is the kind of relationship we have, right? And that's why, you know, the songs pop even when people are, you know, maybe less known people or whatever.
Yep.
But people have been very excited about a lot of these songs where they're like, who is Asir? You know, and they want to know these dudes because they're like, that was special. There was something special there.
Can I tell you something crazy? The song that I've gotten the most feedback about has been Bobby Seale.
Whew.
And I'll be honest with you, it was the song that I was worried about the most. Not because it's a bad song or not because it's not dope. I was just like, man, it's right before Dead Left. It's right after Boring Gun Raps. Dead Left is a single and it's a really hard hitting record. And then like you get into like that Murderer's Row, right? You know, you get Castro, Zilla, and Alaska. And I'm just like, man, people are going to skip it or they're going to listen to it and kind of like, you know, this is cool. The sample's kind of recognizable. But every single person has been like, yo, Bobby Seale is crazy. And
no, it is. I mean, and that is, I mean, Alex Ludovico is exactly who I was thinking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is basically somebody where you go, who is that? Where is that stuff? And I mean, it was to start with the Bobby Seale interview.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was
yeah. That's the funny part. That was all me, right? Like I was originally Alex wanted to call the record Heads or Tails.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Heads or Tails? And as you listen to him, that's what side of the coin do you fall on? You call yourself.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing. It's the good, bad, the hungry, the Hunger Games, the Hunter be hunted, Maine. You know what I'm saying? But what side of the coin I see?
Oh, right.
And you know, and so I was like, but I was listening over quarantine. Truthfully, not even just quarantine, but just in general. Like when I'm really down or like the world gets me down, I always go back and I'll watch like Huey Newton interviews or Amiri Baraka or, you know, Bobby Seale, you know, and that Bobby Seale promo in general really like stood out to me. And the idea about like, what is the thing that we want, you know, as Black Americans, as Black people, and just as humans. Mm-hmm. And what he's really saying is like, yo, I just want the right to live freely, safely, and without fear that my Blackness is going to get me murdered.
Right.
And it was such a powerful statement. And it really just, I just want to be myself. And if you listen to both me and Alex's verses, that's really what we kind of get down to. Like even my verse, right? Like I'm kind of, I don't say all over the place, but like when I say, you know, are you doing your own thing or are you rapping like Griselda? Me, I'm just Shell Scorcese, Lorde Jones. Like I just want to, it's cool just being me. I don't want to rap like Griselda. I can, but that shit's not fun, you know, because then what's everybody gonna tell me? Well, you're rapping like Griselda, you know, and
yeah. I mean, it's Black
know,
identity. It's Black identity.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that, like, it's weird. The reason I started Free Music Empire with a friend of mine was because the mixtape explosion was incredible. We loved it. We loved what was going on in Currency and everything. But we'd read, like, a Covert Coup review for Currency, and they'd be like, I don't know, it's not Southern enough. Yeah, and I read between the lines. I'm like, yeah, he doesn't have an ice cream cone on his face. Did he throw it out of a car? I don't know. You know, like it's. And I was like, man, your expectation, you don't even know what you know what you're doing to these artists with this. Like, you don't represent this. You're faking this. And I wanted to be someone who could just write straightforward reviews, appreciating the process.
Yeah.
So it's
see, a lot of people don't think about like the process, right? And that to me is always like the biggest thing is like, for me, the process is what matters the most. How am I creating? How am I generating? Where's the energy come from for me that makes me want to write this song? And like, I write every day. Sometimes I write about nothing. Sometimes then it'll spark some creativity. Sometimes it's 4 lines. Sometimes it's like 100 bars, and I'm just writing until I'm done.
Right.
And all that shit is fine. But when I start thinking about an album, it's like, okay, what do I want this to be? What is that one unifying, coherent thing that I want from people? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And that's a like summer catalog, winter catalog, all this shit I'm working on right now. Like even like King Bradley, I did like a quarantine EP. It's like 8 minutes 46 seconds long. You know what I mean? And I wrote a song beginning from the time that Target got looted. That's the first song on the record. It's called Target, and I wrote it all the way up until I did a song for my son, called Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. And it just talks about what happened to get pulled over by the police. What should you do?
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah,
And so I
and it sent chills down my spine with the Bobby Seale thing. My dad is from Oakland,
mhm,
and he like knew the Black Panthers, and
mhm,
so I used to ask him like what was it like and all that, and I would like rent interviews from the library of like
mhm.
Bobby and Huey. It was so hearing the voice was good again. Um, so if you were, this unrelated question, if you were going to do a full length album with somebody from that guested on Midnight Express, who would it be?
Eddie
A lot
Kane.
of good choices. It's a lot of good choices.
I would Eddie Kane.
Oh,
Actually, it's been something I've been thinking about for a minute. Been meaning to ask him. Actually, I felt like a dope Shells Eddie Kane project, Brooklyn, Philly, over Jason Griff beats would be really ill.
yep,
Um, it's funny. Me and Alaska were talking about doing a joint project. Just an EP. You know what I'm saying? 3 to 4 songs,
yep.
nothing crazy. But most importantly, like, yo, because it would, and I said, yo, we got to do all back and forth raps. You know what I'm saying? Just have a lot of fun with it. Um, but definitely Eddie Kane. Eddie Kane is, to me, he's one of those bulls that is like really underrated, man. He
Wow.
doesn't get talked about enough. He doesn't get mentioned enough. I think Nezzy Star is an incredible record. He's done records with Sean Price. Like
Yeah,
if that's not enough
it's
to stamp you,
right.
which to me is just insane. Like, him, Rem the Villain, that whole little BK crew, man. I've said it for a minute. Like, I think Eddie's one of the nicest out of New York. I'd love to sit down with him and just, yo, let's just do like an 8-song project, man. And I think like the mystery on Debt Left. So like Debt Left is interesting. I
Man.
wrote the record, and my goal when I wrote it was I think that was the closest to me saying I want to do a Griselda record.
Mhm.
Like it was literally the one time where I was like, I want to do a Griselda song. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so even like when you hear me rapping on it, dirty gun by the clean boxes,
Mhm.
it's ironic when I lick a shot off because when I pull out, kids dying either way. One shot, one kill, fire, spray it in your face. The
Yep.
newspaper say Nation Gang One's causing drama. And there was a Benny the Butcher was doing I think it was like a little $100, and he would listen to your record. If he liked it, he would jump on it.
Oh,
And
right.
Jason was like, "Yo, you should send it to him." And I was like, "Well, I don't want to spend $100 on this shit because you know what I mean." But
Yep.
he was really adamant about it. Yo, I don't think you understand. Like, this shit is dope. Like Benny would like it. And I was like, "All right, cool."
Yep.
Um, and I ended up sending it to him. He played it on his little IG live. He said he dug it, but then nothing came from it. So I said, "Fuck it. I don't need Benny the Butcher on this anyway. I know who I want." And I knew I was like, fuck it, I want to get Eddie Kane. And right when I sent it to Eddie in March, COVID happened. Quarantine, I should say, to be precise. Quarantine happens, and uh, Eddie's like, yo, I love the record. And that's always the key. I think that's the key with every one of these records, right?
Yep.
The rapper listened to the record. They didn't just, yo, this is how much I charge or whatever.
Right. Right. Right.
They actually listened. I said, I need to listen to me, tell me what you think, and then let's see what's good.
Right.
And that's the key. They listened to it, they fell in love with that shit.
Yep.
And he was like, yo, this shit is fucking fire. Like, you're ill. I fuck with it. I've never heard of you, but yo, I want to get on this song.
That's
And
awesome.
I was like, cool, let me know how much it is. If I can work it out, we'll work it out. If not, it's cool. He was like, nah, I got you. But my studio's closed for quarantine.
Oh.
And I was like, fuck, he's right.
Brutal.
And he was like, yeah. And he's like, yo, I really want to do it, but I can't get to the stew. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to wait for you. He's like, all right, cool. Because at the time, they were like, yo, it's like 2 weeks. Everybody's in a quarantine for 2 weeks. Come out, whatever. Then it stretched, and it stretched, and it stretched. And now I'm kind of like, Jason's kind of on me like, yo, we got to meet our deadline to get this joint to get mixed. And the homie Flashes Clayton out in Cali, shout out to Flashes. He was kind of advertising for Versus. And, I've listened to this shit before, listened to Craftsman. That's actually the Craftsman EP is where I got my art from, because Captain Watts did the art for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And when I saw that, I was like, yo, this dude Captain Watts is dope. I reached out to him, and he did all the art for Midnight Express.
Wow, that's cool.
And so I was like, well, fuck it. Let me ask Flashes. And I sent him the song, and he did the same thing. He listened to it and was like, yo, this shit is ill. He was actually trying to get me to he's like, yo, where these drums come from? And I was like, man, that's the producer. I don't know anything about that shit. But he did his verse, and right when he did his verse, Eddie hit me back. It's like, yo, I can get to my studio this week. I'm gonna do the verse. So I ended up with 2 verses, one from Eddie and one from Flashes.
And I love them both. I love Flashes' verse on it. It's different versions of the song. It's
yeah. That's what made it ill, is that they both come off like completely different. Flashes jumps the verse a little bit different. Eddie is right. Like, Eddie did it the way I would have done it.
Right.
Where I was like, yo, dribble like that left. You shrimps getting dunked on. And he just comes in, your hoes getting humped on, like right off. While Flashes lets the beat drop for a second.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then kind of goes into like a little mellow, you know what I'm saying? It floats on it a little bit. And that's what I mean. Like, it works for him. And it's cool if that works. And that's why I said, I was like, you got to hear the Small Pro remix.
Oh.
It has both Eddie and Flash's verse, and I have a brand new verse. Yeah, Small Pro did it. It's on the vinyl.
I wanted to shout out the guest star that I wanted to shout out was on the first song, Sleepy Sinatra. I have fallen completely for Sleep Sinatra.
Good. He's dope.
I actually wrote a review where I pitched him and Teller Banks creating a group.
Yeah. Shout out to Teller Banks too.
You guys sound so good together and so right together. Just do it. Because and they're very different. Teller Banks, his flow kind of bounces all over the world. He's wild and unpredictable, and I enjoy it. Sleep Sinatra he has like Dragic flow. Like,
yeah, he's a technician.
Whenever Dragic gets the ball, I'm like, Dragic has got it, guys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
He's gonna make this work. Like,
yeah,
that's Sleep with the mic. Like, you're just like, oh, he's got this. Like,
yeah,
it's awesome.
Every time I was it's funny how Sleep ended up on Boring, right? I had the record and I was like, man, who do I want on this? And I was listening to a joint called Bernita's Boys from K Burns, actually.
Yep.
Shout out to Team Fan Gang, Eddie Word. And there's a record that's on there that Sleep is on. It's like this little posse cut. Name is escaping me right now. But I heard that, and that made me go and kind of dive into Sleep's catalog. I listened to Classy Sleep.
Yep.
Listened to a couple of other little records he was doing, and then I listened to the joint he did with Stick Figure, like a little 2-song EP.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did like a little video of Boring Gun Raps, and I posted it on my Twitter page, and I said, yo, who should be on this record? Just at the artist who should be on this. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, people are going to add, some other people or people they think I already know, or they're going to reach out to people that I have no way to get right.
Right.
And I kept getting Sleep Sinatra. People kept saying, yo, Sleep. And I'm sitting here like, oh shit, can I get sleep? And so I sent it back to him, and I was like, yo, the Twitter telling me, yo, you need to be on this record. And he heard it, and he was like, yeah, I should be on this record. And
that's awesome.
I sent it to him, and that's what I mean by like organic. You know what I mean? None of my guests were forced.
Right.
Not a single person on my album was a person that didn't connect or didn't get a piece of this record or do anything. These are all people who said, yo, I want to get a part of this album. I want to be on this. And that was powerful, man.
Artists on the same wavelength, locking in, it's just powerful. It's a powerful thing. But it's hard to get sometimes. It's different in different places.
I ran into that with on the Dream Team, man.
Yep.
I reached out to some people that I genuinely liked and respected, or like, yo, I think you would kill this beat. What do you think? And I got the pushback I got was, well, this is how much I charge. And I was like, okay, that's not what I asked. What did you think about the record, and does it work?
Right.
Because clearly, if I reached out to you, I'm willing to say, what are you willing to, so I can tell you this, and most artists will tell you flat out, if I reach out to you, that means I'm able to pay you. And if I can't pay you, I'll tell you that, like, yo, that's a little too high, or I can't meet that. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Right.
Like the one guest that I was thinking about for summer catalog, like I sent them the record, and the next thing they were like, yo, $800. And I was like, did you even listen to the record?
Right.
Like, you emailed me back in less than 30 seconds. That means you didn't even listen. I was like, and I asked, like, dude, did you even listen to it? He's like, I mean, I can listen to it after you pay me. And I was like, no, that's backwards.
Right.
If you like the record and it works for you, then we can work something out. But if the only thing you're trying to do is get paid, like, I don't need that, because you're going to send me some bullshit. I'm going to be unhappy. And then we're going to have, no. Every single person, man.
That's a big question. It's like, because you don't want to get a bad guest verse back, right? Like, talked about this before, of like, getting killed on your own track isn't that big of a concern. It's having someone mailing it in on your track.
Yeah.
And
that's
the
one thing that you, and so it's more than that, right? Like, think, like, every single time I post about Midnight Express, I make sure I include the artist. And you know what every single one of them does? They retweet it.
Right.
It seems like a small thing, but some of these guys, they won't do that. They won't show love like that. And it seems like a small thing, but it matters, man, because it's more than just me like, yo, I want your verse on my record, or for me, it's an artistic thing. What value are you bringing to my album? What value am I providing to you? Because hopefully somebody who's never heard of Sleep from my end, right? Because, the homies from Nebraska, man, it's not exactly a hot spot, but somebody from Philly who hears my record and goes, yo, who's that dude right there? Yo, that's Sleep Sinatra, man. Check him out right here. Damn, I've never heard of Eddie Kane. Check him out. Check out it. You even hear in this conversation, man.
Right.
I show love to everybody because I feel like I love this shit, man. Like, I legitimately love listening to rap music. I love listening to people's shit. I love analyzing it. I love sitting down and just studying it and thinking about it. And, yo, how the hell did, I've been listening to Cargo Code Day. Like, yo, how the fuck did Alaska come up with that? Where the fuck, where was his mind when he thought about this shit, Same thing with, with Zilla and with Castro and with, Amani and Unknown Infinite. Like, I mean, Unknown Infinite, man, like, I almost drowned in that album. So I'm sitting here like, yo, this young boy is losing his fucking mind.
Yeah.
The homie Doofus, man, and the NCO Doof project.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, just drowning in these projects. I'm like, yo, I'll fixate on your project for a month, man. Other people drop shit. I'll listen to it like once or twice, but if like I fall in love with it, like, man, I listen to Shrapnel once a week.
What an album!
Yeah, Ghostface Targaryen is probably my favorite. I'm lying. Ghostface Targaryen is my second favorite song of this year.
It's
And my favorite one is Zilla Rocca's Revolution 36.
That's awesome.
You know, that Wu-Tang is my
Oh
Beatles, I know.
yeah. On the
Yeah.
EP, man, his
Yes.
mind is in a different place, man. That's an important song because when I heard it, the first thing I thought was, yeah, like
Yeah.
it was like something that was true that I had never said.
Mm-hmm.
But when he said it, I was like, right, yeah. No,
It was something, it's the connective thread, right, of music for me is always really powerful. So like my dad, when I was growing up, he listened to a lot more like jazz and soul music. And then as he kind of aged, he started listening to a lot of gospel. And gospel's not my bag. So him and I didn't really have like a music connection where he was like, yo, listen to this, try this out. Sheldon, what do you think about this? I really kind of like just found my own way. Now that my sons are getting older, and it's funny, the first thing that caught me was we were riding around in the van, and they were like, Daddy, is that you? And I said, damn, wow, they're paying attention.
Right.
You know? And I was like, yeah, they're like, wow, Dad, I didn't know you could rap. And it was one of those, and so now I want to kind of like slowly expose them to certain things and like, yo, listen, this is stuff that Dad listened to. And this is stuff that I really liked and appreciated. And that's when I listen to what Zilla's talking about, man, is he's able to pass on his love for the Wu to his son, and the Wu to me is like everything. They encompass everything I'm talking about like from culture, right? Like they encompass everything makes being hip hop, everything that means being black, growing up in the ghetto, that makes all that shit worthwhile. You know what I mean? Like the fantasy elements, the love for Marvel and the love for comic books, the love for escapism. That's really what hip hop is. The culture is partying and dancing, and I get to create with these colors. I get to do graffiti, and this is my art form. Where the way I wear my hat, I can turn my hat a little. My wife, it drives her crazy because she'll always see me. Like the first thing I do, I put on the hat and I immediately cock it to the right. And she's like, why do you do that? It's hip hop. It's how I wear my hat. If I don't wear it like this, it's uncomfortable to me. Right. And I'll fiddle with it until it's like perfectly angled for me. You know what I'm saying? Because it has to be. My shoes have to be tied a certain way. And that's all of that. That's Revolution 36 to me, man. Like as my kids grow up and I get to start, yo, try this on, and their styles are changing and they're becoming different. It's all powerful music, man. It's all powerful. And I just
it's a great time to segue into this question of like Midnight Express. Where do you see it in the Wrecking Crew 2020? Where do you put it in the in the pamphlet, right? When they hand them the Wrecking Crew pamphlet of like what happened this 2020.
I said this before it dropped. I said this after it dropped. And everything that I've seen from everybody else who's heard it, who's actually taken again, it's 20 minutes long, man. I told them, I said, Midnight Express will be in your top 15, 20 albums of the year. There are 1,000 albums that drop every year, minimum. I firmly believe that you're going to sit down at the end of the year and you're going to say Shrapnel, Blue Edwards, Alfredo, Freddie Gibbs, whoever. You're going to name a couple of albums. But the people who listen, they're going to say, yeah, and Midnight Express. Because it's that damn good. The replay value is incredible. I feel like there are going to be lines that people are going to take a long time to kind of connect with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that to me is what's going to be valuable, man. It's going to be really like, man, I feel like top to bottom, like there's no bad songs. There's no bad verses. There's no bad lines. There's no, it's incredible, man. And I wrote it. I created it. And to see the responses to it, you know, particularly, you know, we didn't get it promoted the way I wanted. You know, my brother died August 15th. And so I was with my mom and my dad, and we're kind of, you know, processing it. And even with that, man, shout out to Jerry Graham, our publicist. He did a fucking phenomenal job, man, getting us in front of people who didn't know who the fuck Griff Scorcese was, had no idea how to connect with our music. But everything, I say this shit without hyperbole. We haven't received a single bad review. I think the worst thing that anybody said about the project was like, yeah, Survivor Series 92 is mixed a little too loud. Which is, if that's the worst thing that somebody says about your project, yeah, man, like, okay, cool, I'll take that.
Yeah.
People have done nothing but hear this project and say, yo, this project is incredible. And people, I've blown away. I've never heard you before, but I've heard this, and this shit is so ill to me. You know what I mean? It just was, oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just perfect because I think the door kind of opens with Shrapnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the way I framed Shrapnel was that it was like, I guess the '80s Pistons. Like Armand Hammer is the Isaiah Thomas of that group, and Shrapnel is Joe Dumars. It's the rugged number two that you need to be there.
Yeah.
And that's when people were like, oh shit, Backwoods is more than just these guys. Like, and you started seeing people picking away and reviewing those guys more. And people like opening the door for that. You know, there was, and it's just different, man. Let me talk to you about the pro wrestling end of it. It's important to talk about this specific period of pro wrestling. A lot of the clips are from the early 90s, late 80s, a really interesting time in wrestling. I mentioned this in my review. The crowds knew wrestling was fake. But they hadn't emotionally taken it in fully.
I think the crowds understood that the stories were what mattered, right? A lot of people will sometimes talk about like pro wrestling being real, pro wrestling being fake. And I said, that's not the point. People always miss the point of pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is the investment of emotions, right? That's what makes pro wrestling great, is when you invest in emotional aspect of it. Do I fall? Do I know that this thing is fake? Yes. Do I care? No. Because I really want that guy to win, or he cheated and he took away this. And when you get swept up in that, it's the most powerful thing in the world. I tell people all the time, a lot of people are like, yo, pro wrestling is stupid. Why do you watch it? And I said, you know what? What if I take you to a show? I guarantee you'll leave that show and be like, yo, this shit is amazing.
Yeah.
Because it is. It's one of the very few things you have to witness and be a part of live. And that's the same thing with hip hop. You know, go see the art live. Don't just listen to me on your computer, because the computer speakers aren't going to give you the life that a pair of headphones will.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can't listen to Summer Catalog on a computer. You got to get in your car and drive around a little bit. And now all of a sudden, expensive steak aroma makes a lot more sense when the street lights are hitting you, and it feels really dope. And you know what I'm saying? Shut the fuck up sounds way cooler when you're just walking around on the streets and you got your mean mug on. You know what I'm saying?
Waiting for the
that
bus.
Shit's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Midnight Express is the same way. Like, Midnight Express is something that is designed to elicit emotion. Every single song is designed to elicit emotion. It's to take you on a roller coaster ride. Like Rocket Launcher, for example, right? Rocket Launcher is the name of the Midnight Express's finishing move.
Oh, yeah.
That's how they ended every match. You know what I'm saying? With the Rocket Launcher.
Yep.
And so for me, that was why that had to be a solo record. Every other record, and of course the irony, of course, that the Rocket Launcher is a tag team move.
Right.
But for me, it's just me and Griff. It's got to be a solo record. And I wanted to take you on this feeling of running through this match, the highs, the lows, the crowd going nuts, what happens at the end, and then finally I got to finish you. Because at the end of the day, the Midnight Express were always heels. They're bad guys.
Right.
I gotta cheat. I gotta cheat to win.
Right.
And Rocket Launcher is me cheating to win. You know what I mean?
Yep. And it's
and so
when I think of that crowd, I don't know what my mind goes to Survivor Series 1991 when The Undertaker takes the title from Hulk Hogan. And if you find people find it on YouTube, and at that moment when he's covered the hands on the chest, he's taking the title, they pan to the crowd. Not only are kids crying, but like grown-ups are crying. Like people are like bawling. And that was the investment. They were watching a play, but they didn't know they were watching a play.
Correct.
And that feeling follows, like, you know, the audience is following each song's emotional changes the way those crowds followed the match.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what you wanted. Like, you know, Jim Cornette is a, you know, he's who he is, man. Pretty reprehensible person. But the one thing that he understands is the ebb and flow of crowd emotion, to getting people invested.
Yep.
And that was something that I wanted to, like, even when I start the record, you know, his voice is the first thing you hear. Look at yourself in the mirror, you idiot. Look at yourself in the mirror. And, you know, he's talking to Dusty Rhodes.
Yep.
But I wanted you as to listen. Like, this is the manager, you know, screaming at you in the studio show. And, you know, you want people nervous, man. I wanted you to be nervous when I start rapping. And, you know, you hear my voice and you hear me doing the boring gun rap ad-libs, you know, because I wanted you to be in that mindset, like, oh, okay, he's got me scared, he's got me invested. Now let me hear him rap, and what's he talking about? It's like, wow, it's all these crazy bars, and, you know, you cook my steak right, medium rare. I'm Nature Boy Ric Flair, fly pilot, yeah. My mindset's Skynet. My Pyrex is mind sex. For dead prez, I clap text. For the Draymond Green, Sir Sam Rothstein. Like, I just really kind of like just dragging you into this world of
the heel
lyrics and violence and the shit that just makes hip hop great, man. I just really wanted people to zone out with it. Once you get into that zone, to keep you there.
Yeah.
Knowing that, hey, rap isn't real. You know, if I did half the shit I said in my raps, I should have been arrested 30 times over.
Right.
But there's a level of authenticity in it. Like, when you hear me rapping on Marvel vs. DC, you know I've read a ton of fucking comic books.
Right.
You can't Wikipedia that shit. You know what I'm saying? You can't Wikipedia that shit. When you listen to Survivor Series, like Survivor Series 92 is really about me saying Kamala Harris is a bad choice for president. And it's funny, when I wrote it and I did the song, that's when she was still in the running. And then she dropped out, and I was like, I can't use this song anymore. I was kind of pissed off because I really dug the record.
Yeah.
And so I kind of appreciate Joe Biden bringing her on, because that song works.
I'm back.
And it's funny how few people get that, though, when they hear it. When they hear me talking about, like, they hear like the Kamala intro at the beginning, and they're like, oh yeah, that's right, Kamala did die. And I was like, yeah, but I was really talking about like Kamala Harris's like political career. You know, you hear me say that in the, you know, Kamala, she's a problem, the lesser of two evils. You got to vote for Kang or Kodos. You know what I'm saying? And again, right? Two-party system. I got to vote for somebody. I've seen what 3 and 10 months of the orange guy is. I don't need any more of this shit. No. So if Kamala Harris is better, it's not by much, but it is by something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's real. And it's a great point. And there's a lot of weird hidden stuff in there. The last question to go full comic book nerd on you.
I got you.
Great stuff. I was listening to JJ Redick's podcast a little while ago before it became a restaurant podcast.
Yeah.
And he was interviewing Kyrie Irving. He had a great thing where he was talking about how every NBA player has a superpower.
Right.
His is that he likes it better shooting over contact from 28 feet away. And Kyrie's is obviously the creativity at the basket. What I was thinking about Wrecking Crew, how would you assign the powers that these individuals bring to the table?
Oh man.
I'm willing to kick off if you'd like
So
me to kick off.
here's my thing. I would say I look at and I'm gonna stick with the X-Men because X-Men is the easiest for me.
Do it.
I would say somebody like Zilla. Zilla's gonna be your Cyclops. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Amazing leader, massively underrated by a lot of people. And like musically, I think he's underrated. You know what I'm saying? Curly Castro's got to be Wolverine, man. A ball of energy, completely unpredictable, but he's probably like the most loyal person I've ever met, like that I've come into contact with.
Yep.
And I mean that, like, sincerely, man. When my brother died, man, like, he's checked up on me constantly. When I'm on Twitter and, like, my grief is taking over and I'm kind of going off the deep end, he was the first person to hit me, yo, Shells, log off, take a deep breath, you're okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what I mean. Like, that's that part of Logan that people never really saw. They always saw the berserker, the rage. You know what I'm saying? So that's him. Alaska, got to be Professor X, man. Got to be Professor X.
Perfect.
You know, he's above the fray, man. And he's always like, I'm telling you, his year this year for a guy who said, yo, I don't want to rap anymore. I'm kind of just doing rap for fun. Bro, like, he's crushing it.
Totally.
He's crushing it. You know what I'm saying? Prim is Iceman. You know, cool on the other side of the pillow.
Good.
You know, and then from there, like, me and Jason, you know, to put us in somewhere, I gotta be Colossus, man. You know, no matter, I mean, easily, man. I've said that before in raps. You know what I'm saying? I'm the Zip Squad Colossus, man, and in a lot of different ways. You know, everybody can't walk with me, man.
Right.
Everybody can't stride with me. You know what I'm saying? And Jason Griff, nah, man, fuck Jason Griff. I ain't said that. I haven't said that all podcasts. Fuck Jason Griff. I told you I'm the only rapper that hates his producer, man.
No,
you know what I mean? But nah, Archangel. I thought he'll be Archangel.
Oh, I like that.
Give him somebody decent, man. He doesn't deserve to be a horseman, but I'll give him somebody decent so he doesn't get mad at me when he listens to this. But yo, fuck Jason Griff. Let me say that one more time.
The only one that I was thinking was like, man, like Prem Rock was the first guy I fell for completely within the Wrecking Crew. I just had to have it all. And he was like, he felt kind of Nightcrawler-ish to me. Of like, he's just
that would work too.
Tricky. He's tricky. He like but he's very like heartfelt. There's emotional songs that he's done that like I was like, wow, I've never heard this from anybody else. He's a tricky dude. I appreciate it, and it's good to know because Castro on Call Out Culture podcast has the most passionate reviews, the most passionate recommendations. When he's like, you gotta hear this shit. Like, I do, because he really puts a stamp down for it, and he's just that dude. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a good one. I feel like the reason why I went with Iceman for Prim, you know, Iceman obviously the Omega level mutant. I feel like, you know, a lot of people don't really pay attention to Prim a lot of times. Zilla has that big voice. You know, Castro is, again, you know, all the energy. Small Pro, of course, you know, after that project with Sean Price, like, he's been, you know, out of here. And then you just have this guy, like Prim to me, man. Like, Prim was on Survivor Series 93. He left that record, and, you know, he rapped like 20 bars, and I said, fuck it, Prim Rock. He wants to rap 4 extra bars, and the fuck am I to tell him that? You know what I'm saying? And he went off, and that's what I mean. Like, you
he's somebody that people kind of underestimate, but the people who pay attention know that he's doing great. And I mean, that's Fred, man. Like he binds makes shrapnel work. Because shrapnel Castro doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, small and small professor could be Cable maybe, or like fucking
he's gotta be
somebody who like.
I mean, I'll keep it easy. He's a beast, man.
Oh, that's
he's the beast, man. He's Hank McCoy.
Yeah. Yon Supremes are incredible. I mean, he's one of those dudes where like I got the remix project where he remixed like Skilo and Farside and all this stuff, and I just put it on in the car without telling my wife anything about it, and she was like, "This is great!" Like it was buy-in instantly. Everybody knows that's a good sound. But that's awesome, and I look forward to more Wrecking Crew projects, more Insubordinate Records.
Yes, sir. We got some new stuff coming up, man. Domination EP just dropped today. So that's me, the homie PR the Great, the homie Black and the homie Big Spick Game from Philly, New Jersey, respectively. This is our first official mixtape project. Like we dropped 2 little mixtapes on SoundCloud, all like industry beats. This is, our own music. And then we've got the Domination LP dropping in November, which is going to be nuts. That's Sonny Jim producing, Doe Pesci giving us some production, Jason Griff, Panels did 2 of the records on there, and Wavy to God. Man, it's a fantastic record. White Boy by Alex Ludovico is on the way. He's been just working on that project. He's just working on that project at his own pace. Alex has his, Jason Griff's working on a compilation project. He's just been kind of chugging away at. And then Winter Catalog. I'm coming right back. I also have a project I'm working on with Chumzilla from the Demigods that I'm geeked about. I don't want to say too much more, but I've got like 3 or 4 records in the can for that. And we're ready to go, man.
And ready to go. Another thing to think about when comparing Summer Catalog and Midnight Express is one of the great things about 2020 is it doesn't matter how long your project is now. Yeah. It used to be, it had to be long, right? It had to be like 20-something songs. And I think before that, it had to be like 14. There was always these magic numbers, right? Yeah. And now it's like, fuck it, man. You can do 9 songs at 20 minutes. You can do 15 songs at 37. It's fine. Whatever you want to do, you can drop an hour on people, and if it's good, it's good.
That's what makes this music really powerful and fun. The simple fact that I can create, again, like Midnight Express, right? I knew Midnight Express wasn't going to be long. I knew I didn't want to do hooks all the time. And I was like, I'm fine with it being 9 songs. I was fine with Summer Catalog being 10 songs. I was fine with half the Summer Catalog doesn't even have hooks, man. Right. It's just me rapping, dude. Buddha jumps over a wall. It's just me rapping my ass off because I just wanted to, I heard the beat. I was like, fuck this. I'm not, I got to a part where I got to my 16 and then my pen just kept going. And I was like, so fuck it. Return of Kenshin Liger, same thing. I was like, I'm not doing a hook on this beat. Right. I'm gonna rap about the most dangerous, scary shit I can think of. I'm gonna have some fucking fun. Right. Zelda Wynn Valdez, same shit. And that's the cool part, man. Zilla, the best piece of advice that Zilla Rocca ever gave me was keep everything.
That's awesome.
Keep your mistakes. Keep the shit you think is good. Keep the shit you think is bad. Don't worry about this shit. Too many people spend too much time focused on the minutia when at the end of the day, man, you should be having fun doing this shit.
It's a huge lesson because I've known people who are much better writers than me who fell out because they were staring at it and finding the problems and living in the problems, right? Yep. And part of when you said people can't fuck with me when I do this. Like, you're right. It's not being cocky. It's, I need to fairly assess this.
Yep.
Right. And a fair assessment of me is I'm good at this shit.
Fucking right.
Right?
That's
Like,
exactly it. Like,
yeah.
it's not a slight. And, you know, and I think that's the part we talk about, like, being humble. You know what I mean? It's not a slight when I say out loud, I'm a good fucking rapper, that I'm a dope writer. I pick great beats. I come up with these ill-ass concepts.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even a slight when I say, yo, I notice people stealing my shit.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I notice it, you take it, it's not going to stop me from coming up with a new idea. It's not going to stop me. And because I felt like if it stopped me from coming up with a new idea or doing something different, I need to quit. You know what I mean?
Right.
I created Two-Man Power Trip. I saw a lot of rappers come out with wrestling related content. Oh, okay, cool. Now everybody's a wrestling fan. I remember when being a wrestling fan would get you laughed at on Twitter.
Right. It was different. And that was, you know.
Yeah. You would get laughed at. You're not cool. But when people heard my shit, they're like, oh, wait a minute. This motherfucker's rapping that shit. Oh, now I can do it. It's not a big deal for me to use a sample from this or a sample from that. Okay, cool. Now let's switch it up. Now I want to change. I'm gonna get somebody involved in the project, or I want to do this, or now I want to do clay figures, now I want to do shorts, or now I want to do ping pong paddles. You know what I mean? Whatever. There's no fucking look, man. The homie Ging told me on the Amani, when we did the Amani breakdown. There's no rules of this shit. Who the fuck tells me what I can and can't do? It's my fucking art. It's my music, man. Let me do my shit and let me have a good fucking time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's the mixture. The mixture gets to be your mixture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one applauds someone changing shit while they're changing shit.
Yep.
No one's like, good job, innovator. Like, it doesn't happen.
Yep.
So you have to just do it and then come out the other side like, yeah, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
But congratulations on the year you're having, and there's been a few people, man, who have been doing this, who have been on runs where they're working a lot and helping people understand who they are. Iceberg Theory.
Shout out to Iceberg, man. He was somebody I was thinking about too.
We're talking about Blue and Spanish Ran. And like putting out a lot of projects so you can show your audience a lot of different sides to you.
Right.
You get investment, right? They buy in and they say, okay, this is something I'm into.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, everybody's trying to figure out the right pace for right now.
Yep.
I think you're onto it. I feel taking your time, man.
Yeah, man. I think that's exactly it, man. People are, you know, it's been that thing where like people are catching up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been like the most like gratifying, is seeing people catch up to this shit. Because I always knew, like, when I was making my early stuff, like, yo, this shit is dope. You know, people are gonna fuck with it. And then they didn't fuck with it. And I said, okay, well, what if I go this route and I try this and people didn't fuck with it? Okay, cool. All right, well, I can quit now and I can be happy that I finally, like, you know, like A World Only Gods Know, right? When I released that was going to be the only project I was ever going to do.
Right.
It's a beautiful, gorgeous album, man. It's like an hour long. It's all live instruments and lots of cool shit. You know what I'm saying? And people didn't really with it. And, you know, okay, cool. You know, like, it's lyrically dense. It's all this shit that for me makes a good album.
Right.
Cool. Fine. You know, people didn't fuck with it. But Zillow hit me up, was like, yo, do a remix project. Maybe those East Coast cats who heard this, maybe they heard all these instruments, they won't fuck with those instruments, but maybe if you get some sample shit, they'll fuck with it. That was how I met Jason Griff. He connected me to Jason. And so now all of a sudden, Jason remixes records, and all of a sudden I've got more shit. Oh, okay. now people are fucking with that. Now people are grabbing those songs and doing this. And it's like, oh, Disco Vietnam is doing records for me. And now I've expanded my base. Now we're doing the Dream Team. Now we're doing Catch Point. Now I'm doing East Hampton Polo Boys. Now I have my own fucking record company, which is like, you know what I mean? Again, shit drives me crazy. Like, holy shit, I have my own fucking record company that I'm responsible for. These people calling me like, yo, Shells, when we're doing this, when's our album dropping? How are we going to do this? What's the plan? And it's incredibly fulfilling. It's like enormously nerve-wracking, but most importantly, man, it's fucking ours. Right. You know what I'm saying? Every one of these songs, every one of these albums, if it fails, it fails. But at least I know I did it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as an artist, there's nothing worse than like knowing that you failed and it wasn't your fault.
Right.
Really aggravating. Like it's alien to me. Like I write short stories. I don't really do any of this. I don't rap. So, and I got a friend who's been in a bunch of local bands.
Right.
And he tells me about, going through it and replacing the drummer. And I'm like, oh shit, man. That's,
you know what I mean?
Like, I can't imagine having to grind everything to a halt because some guy is moving to another state. And you're like, like it's brutal having to figure that out.
Right.
But hip hop's really born out of the need to be able to do it on the move.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, that's it, man. Like your art, the things that you create, you have to be willing to accept that it's the imperfections, man.
Yep.
Accept the imperfections. And once you do that, man, this shit becomes so much more fun. You know what I'm saying? It becomes legitimately more fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key, man. I've been having fun this year, man.
That's awesome.
Quarantine has kept me from doing some things that I love or that I wanted to do. But the one thing it also gave me a chance to do was have perspective.
Right.
To take a deep breath. Because, like, man, if I would have had my way, you guys would have had all this music.
Right, fair.
Back in, like, literally, like, I was sitting in March. Like, I got to release a song. I got to release a record. I got to release something. Because everybody else was releasing music. And I wasn't releasing music. I wasn't putting out anything. And I kept telling Jason, we got to put something out. We got to put something out. Jason was like, no, we don't. Like, right. It's cool, bro. And because, again, right, like, I had the Nation Gang project. Mm-hmm. I had the Summer Catalog. I had Midnight Express. I had the EP. Like, I did an EP with one of my brothers out in London, Sinners in the Sun, that nobody's heard. And I was just listening to that today. It was like, this is ill. Like, I literally almost forgot how ill it was.
It's awesome.
But I had to stop myself because he's working on the beats. He's taking his time.
Yep.
And I don't want to rush him. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And that's the hardest part. When it's yours, you just want the world to get it. When you feel, and for me, it's like I gotta stay at my pace. My pace is working for me. You know what I'm saying? Timing
is so important, and having a thorough understanding of what you're doing is important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I admire it, and I admire everything from the merchandise to the planned expansion of just like, I'm gonna be a good person to other people, work really hard, and it's going to open things up. It's because I remember finishing my book and then being like, fuck, I got to figure out the cover. This sucks. Like,
right.
Read the book. Like, there's no one else who's going to do this. So those details can really, the people who nail those are really in a different trajectory.
Appreciate that, man.
So thank you for that. Thank you for your time. And we'll continue to chop it up anytime.
Please, man. So. Hey, man, shout out again. I told you this when I read the review, man. Like, it took my breath away, man, to hear somebody like understand your music, understand your art, to see how something comes together, is just supremely like valuable, man. shout out to everybody at Free Music Empire, man. You guys are just doing the damn thing. From myself, Jason Griff, Alice Ludovico, everybody involved in Insubordinate Records. You know what I'm saying? We want to thank you guys for what you do. You know, it's hard, man. But for independent acts, man, to get a chance to do stuff like this, talk about our shit, man, is powerful, man. Powerful. So thank you so much.
It's walking around and talking to people about it, and like people in my office will come to me and talk to me about hip hop and be like, "What do you think about this or that and this?" And I will dump all this information on them because sometimes people get mixed up and they think that like the three guys on top are the guys to talk about.
Right.
And you're like, no, there's actually all these people in the middle and the bottom. And if you knew all of them, you wouldn't be that worried about whether or not J. Cole's album was good or not. You would, it would be part of the mix,
There's so much good music out here. Like anybody who tells you that they can't find good hip hop, that means they're not looking, man. I don't want to hear that shit. I know I've mentioned 100 artists today. You know what I mean? Obviously, Henry Canyon's just dropped a fucking bomb.
Googie.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what I mean. It doesn't have to be like Asir dropped a record. It doesn't have to be New York, man. It doesn't have to be and I'm gonna jump off my soapbox. It doesn't have to be Griselda. It doesn't have to be Flea Lord. It doesn't have to. And again, right? Shout out to Wavo. Them dudes is all real important dudes, man. They're fly. They make ill music, but guess what, man? There are lots of other dope artists, man. You can find the dude. You can find the Scorcese out there. You can find the Alice Vico out there. You can find a motherfucking Nation Gang out there. I'm naming my own shit, but I'm being real. You know what I'm saying? You can
find any
Spencer, Johnny Guns. I mean, I can name 100 dudes, man. Just dope, ill rappers. Shout out to Torito, man. He's fire. You know what I'm saying?
I think that album is one of the best albums of the year. I think
absolutely. That's what I mean. Look, me and he and I were arguing because I was telling him like, "Yo, dog, you got a Mean Alaska verse." But I'm telling you, I got the best one. And he was like, "I can't wait to hear this." And he heard it. He was like, "Yeah, you got it."
That Alaska verse is second though. It is like
right. That's what I mean, man. There's so many fly dudes, man. I can't name them all. Tokyo Cigar. Right. Planet Earth, you know what I mean? There's so many just fire records, man. Fat Boy Sharif. I could do this shit all day, man. Lots of ill cats, man. It doesn't have to be Griselda. It doesn't have to be, well, he doesn't have an Alchemist beat, so it can't be good. Whatever, man. Jason Griff's a dope producer. So La Rocca's a dope producer. All types of dope producers.
On and on. There's just so many. Correct. Zilla's production on the new Cargo Cults is next level.
Superb.
They make so much sense together the way you and Griff make so much sense together.
Hell yeah.
It's about the personality and the craft kind of meeting. And they know how to do it. But thank you very much for it. And we'll stay in contact and
please
improve it, man.
Please, man. I appreciate you, good brother. This was amazing. Again, shout out to Free Music Empire, man. Everybody involved. Shout out to, yes, sir, Two Man Power Trip, man. My favorite shit. You can find, real quick, you can find all my music on streaming. You can look up Scorcese. You'll find most of it. If not, you look up Alpha X Scorcese, Griff. Everything else will pop up. But fuck all that. Go to my Bandcamp. Show me some love on Bandcamp, man. I got all types of ill shit. We're doing the summer catalog. Last second sale. You can get the shirts now for $10. The polos, I think, are $20. Last couple of shorts are only $15. I got some XLs. Holla at your boy. They're $15 each. The socks are on sale, $15. You buy the socks, you get a copy of the digital. While supplies last, there's less than 15 pairs. And most importantly, man, just support this ill music, man. We're doing a lot. Insubordinaterecords.com, insubordinate.bandcamp.com. You can check us out, man. Your boy Scorcese, Lorde Jones. Follow me on Twitter. All that. I had to do my rapper shit. You know what I mean?
That's fair. If you are looking for like really cool underground hip hop and you don't know where to find it, the first step is get yourself a Bandcamp account, right? Enter your pertinent information in there. The second step is look up Blood Money Perez.
Yes, shout out to Shout out to the
what
homie.
he buys. What Blood Money Perez buys is a good idea.
Yes.
So just do that.
Much love to the homie, man. I got some beats from him that I've been holding on to too, that I've been meaning to sit down with. Like I've got them, started writing and doing a little touch and go here. I need to get busy with them for real, and get started. But yeah, that's the homie too, man. Shout out to him. Again, shout out to everybody who's been supporting and investing in this dream. And more importantly, like, it's become a reality, man. Holla at us, man. Have some fun, okay?
Definitely. Thank you, sir.
My G. Thank